What if every scrap fabric block told a story of faith and strength? Today, we're turning simple scraps into a beautiful quilt block that includes various Bible verses. Hi friends, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome. If you love quilting and you'd like to infuse your faith into your creations, you've come to the right place today. Today, we're making a scrap fabric slab quilt block, and it has a faith-inspired touch. So grab your scraps, your sewing machine, and let's get started. First, I want to give you a little history of the slab quilt block. Slab quilt blocks are a modern take on scrap quilting, emphasizing improvisation and the use of fabric scraps to create unique textured blocks. The method became widely popular with quilters who enjoy freeform piecing, often inspired by the improv quilting movement that emerged in the mid to late 20th century. Slab blocks gained further attention through community quilting efforts, such as the Canadian Quilters Association for charity and disaster relief projects. They are a fantastic way to use up scrap fabric, and they allow for a lot of creative freedom. If you have the book, Sunday Morning Quilts, you can see the directions on pages 48 to 49. But we're just going to wing it, and we're also going to make it quilt as you go. First, you want to grab your supplies. You're going to need scrap fabric. For each of my blocks, there are 24 blocks. In the center, I'm going to be adding a word with a Bible verse. I printed these off on my inkjet printer and just cut them. And I do have a free printable for you. The link to that will be in the description box below so that you can make your own. So I'm going to bring you down to the table so we can get started on this project. Because this is quilt as you go, I do have my backing fabric, which is going to be my muslin. And I just cut it way larger. I think I cut it at 14 inches. We will be trimming these to 12.5 inches. And then I have a piece of batting. And I'll just lay that on there. And then we can just quilt as you go. And when you have 24 of these blocks, we can join them. To begin with, we're going to start with our center square. And I'm just grabbing a piece out of my pile. And you want to have a small ruler handy so that you can trim these. You can also just cut them with scissors, that's fine too. So we'll cut that. I'm going to grab my label. And for my label, I did add a little bit of interfacing because this muslin is really thin. I'm going to connect these two. Don't worry if they don't match because we can trim them up. And then I will sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then I will simply use my seam roller to press that open. I'm going to put that somewhere where I think is the center. I'm just going to grab 2 more blocks. Anything will work. And we'll sew those together. Press that open. Then what we're going to do, just decide where you want to put it. I think I will put this right here and just sew right on there. There, that's open. And if you wanted to, what you could do is take a longer piece like this, grab some other pieces like this, lay that flat down. This has a little lip on it, so we'll get rid of that. Lay that down on here. Take another one. Like this. And just leave a little space right in here. Grab another piece. Just like this. And lay that right here. Trim that off if you want. Leave a little space. Here's another piece we could use. And we'll put that one down here. So essentially, you could, if I had another little piece, I could put a little piece right here. And then we'll sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance down here and then separate those, and we'll have a bunch of pairs. If you want, you can pin. I'm going to try to make it to the sewing machine and sew it. And just use your scissors to come in there and cut this. What a great scrap buster, huh? So we've got those ready to go. And look at that. So we could put that here. I think I'll do it in the center like that. And then we're going to sew from here to here. And then we can trim those. Flip it. And then we will do a little trimming. I think I cut all the way up. I did, and that's fine. We'll just cut that out, and then I'll take that out with the seam ripper. That's what those are for, right? Let's see if I have any strips in here, because you can also use strips. I think this would be pretty in there. So we could lay that just like that. Sew across. Flip it up. Press it. Let's see if I have some other strips, maybe one down here. So we'll go across here. Don't want to cover up the Bible verse. So yeah, I think that'll be fine. Flip that up. Look how pretty that is coming along. Okay, now let's see if we have something in here that we could use. Maybe this one. We really need something to cover all the way across. So what I can do is actually add something here. Or what is this one? I could sew these two together. And then, yeah, I have the straightest edge there. And then what I will do is sew from here to this edge. So let's do that. See how fast this comes together? Then we'll trim here. I have to use my seam ripper because I kind of went too far there. Take this string off. There we go. And then if you wanted, what you could do is kind of trim this up a little. Because we're going to need a thin strip for that top. Let's see what we have. Maybe this plus another small piece. Here's something really wild and crazy. So I will sew these two together. Press that. And then sew that on there. It's coming together. Then we'll trim here. We'll trim here. And on this side. I think I'll look for a strip for over here. That one will work. And then we want to make sure, see how I'm totally wonky over here? I need to trim that. And then we'll sew from right here to right here. I am using my 1/4 inch seam allowance foot on my machine, but if you wanted to use your walking foot, you could do that as well. Now what I want to do, because I know I did cut this larger, at some point I want to come in and see how far I am from my 12.5 inches. This square block lap board, it's a quilter's rule. It was by Betty Gall, 1983. My mother-in-law gifted this to me. But this is 12.5 inches. So it gives me an idea of when I need to stop. And I do have these pieces pretty close. So let's continue on. Let's see if I have any other strips in here we could use. We'll use this one along the top. Uh-oh, I completely missed. Nope, I ran out of bobbin thread. So let's get that fixed. Let's trim this. And this side. Flip it up so we have that covered up there. So we need a strip for this side. What if I sewed two of these together? Because we might as well use them. All right, let's sew these two together. Or we have to mix it up a little bit. I have this one. So we'll sew these two together. And we can add this to this side. Just make sure you're in line with the shortest piece. And we'll go ahead and sew that one. The standard size for these quilts, there's some different sizes. You can do the quilt blocks in 10-inch, 12.5 inch, or 15-inch. And like I said, today we're doing the 12.5. If you want to make a large quilt, you would sew 4 blocks together for 1 row, and then you'll sew 6 rows together. And that large quilt will be about 48.5 inches by 72.5 inches. And we already have it quilted, right? So it wouldn't take long at all. I think this could be a quilt in a day. And of course you can use any backing you want. Trim up some of those. Okay. We have an area down here we need to cover. Let's see what we can find for that. How about some pink and green? So we'll sew these two together. And flip this over and sew over to the edge of this side. All right. Look at that. A totally wonky looking quilt block put together in no time. And we need one little piece for over here. What do we got hiding out in here? How about this? And that should be, let's make sure it's 12.5 inches. That's 12, and that should be 12.5. So we're going to go ahead with that. So we'll sew that on the side. There we go. Now we need the large ruler to see where we want to trim this. And I kind of want this to be in the center. This is 12.5. So I need, this is kind of the center. At 6.25. But I think this looks good. I didn't even have to sew this one on, which is fine. We can still use it. I think I'm going to trim like that. Because I want to make sure, yeah, my batting's in there. Yeah, I didn't even need this one. So let's go ahead and move some of this stuff and try to trim this up. Yeah, I can take this off and use that again. And then we're going to turn this. Turn this. And just like that, we have a 12.5-inch block. It's already quilted, but if you wanted, you could do some additional quilting. And I do have a joining technique in mind for this, but I'll do that in a separate video when I have a couple more of these blocks done. Don't forget I have a printable for you. That there's 24 of these. So feel free to download those and make those. And I do have a final inspirational thought for you. As we piece together our slab quilt blocks, we're reminded that our lives, like these scraps, are made up of different experiences. Some are bright and joyful, others challenging and difficult. Yet when we place them in the hands of our Creator, He brings them together into something beautiful and purposeful. Philippians 4:13 tells us, I can do all things through Christ, which strengthen me. No matter what we face, His strength carries us through. May this quilt that you finish be a reminder that in Him we are never without hope, never without purpose, and always covered in His love. And as I look at this scrap pile, I want to share with you what my husband said about my scrap pile.
It'll take you the rest of your life to go through that pile.
But if you love faith-filled sewing projects, you won't want to miss my video on the Scripture on the Go encouragement wallet. It's a beautiful way to keep God's Word close to you wherever you go. So I'll link that video here. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it. I appreciate each one of you. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so that you'll know when I put up a new video. And until the next video, God bless you.